Ready to do another action item, or I had a help paper?
Well, let's do that.
Okay. I know there are a couple people in the audience. I know they said they've talked to some people on the council related to the items that we've been holding. I know I have one, the 69-16-1427, to amend the code related to the $15 per hour for city employees.
Yep.
And so my question is, particularly since we are getting ready to go into budget season, if I think they spoke with you as well, interested to have some discussion about how we're moving forward. I know the other paper was Mr. Dickens and I, and we did get the information back related to, I think, whatever it was, the information we needed, and I think there was another paper that phased it in. So I just want to get a sense of the committee of where we are on this so we can know how to instruct members of the public.
And someone contacted my office and was told that, per my instructions, that the $15 an hour paper was one of several pay-related papers that are going to be ripe for discussion now that we're in the budget deliberations. And I left it at that. Mr. Warren?
So, am I correct that the Human Resources Commissioner is coming to our next meeting to present, correct? Didn't it get deferred to that meeting? Or just got deferred?
It got deferred. Yeah, her report, yeah.
Because I do remember the conversation with this. There was a preliminary kind of estimate on what it would cost, but then it got muddied up by the fact that there was a government directive that had to do with changing the status of employees in overtime. And I think we were still waiting for a little bit of clarification and direction from Washington on that. And then on top of that, there was another factor about compression, that by lifting everybody 15, we'd start creating some other problems. So I think this is something that I think we should kind of keep those items open, but then tee it up for when Commissioner Yancey comes back to talk to us, because this isn't a simple move up in pay. There are a lot of different ramifications that we've got to think through carefully on this. So that would be my recommendation.
Well, at minimum, Mr. Chair, I know that I think there may be only a couple left since our
there's
meeting
several
went on.
signed up.
There people could say what they came to say related to this.
Okay.
Second.
13 is the second thing.
Yeah. Right. There's several pay-related papers, which,
So we were going to do all of them.
in the context of the budget, I'm sure we're going to discuss all these papers in the context of the budget. All right. So Ms. Moore has proposed that we hear from the people who have patiently waited. So without objection, let's do that. Neil Sardana. I'm sorry if I got your name.
Neil Sardana is correct. My name, I am a resident in District 5 in Reynoldstown on Flat Shoals Avenue, and I'm also here representing Atlanta Jobs of Justice, a metro area-wide coalition of faith-based organizations, labor unions, community organizations, and youth and student-based groups. And we are here to speak in favor of the ordinance to raise city employees' wages up to $15 an hour. We believe that this paper has been held in committee now since I believe since August of last year. And to me, the question is, what are we waiting for? There is 872 employees of the city of Atlanta who make under 15. We know that this puts them in an insecure situation when it comes to being able to make good on their daily needs. And my question to you is, how long will you continue to wait and allow these people who are struggling, and you know that's the case, that many of these people require public assistance, that they are caught up in a safety net as opposed, in which they have to require to get food stamps, WIC, Medicaid, other public assistance services that are really meant to catch people when they're in crisis, They're not supposed to be held in the safety net permanently and held in a situation where they have to draw public assistance covered by the taxpayers. Our city should be making sure that these employees have a dignified wage and are treated with respect when it comes to how much they're compensated. So we're calling on you to pass this ordinance to make sure that these workers get the wages that pay respect to the work that they provide to our city. And we call on you to do this today. That, you know, it doesn't need to take another month, 2 months, 3 months. You know, it's almost been a year now. Like I said, this was first introduced in August. You know, it should be a priority for the council and for the mayor to make sure that these workers get what they need. We cannot afford to have workers living in poverty. It does no good to our community. It does no good to our city, and it does no good to the growth and the health of our city as a whole. So we call on you to make this decision, and we're also going to be coming to City Council on May 1st for International Workers' Day. We love to see the city honor these workers by providing them these wages, so that we can celebrate their, you know, how much of they provide us. So I appreciate your time, and I thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you. And I'm sorry, I neglected to say if you could confine your remarks to 3 minutes, that would be appreciated. Shannon Riaz? Okay.
Edward Young.
Mm-hmm.
I represent Atlanta Jobs with Justice and the millions of Georgians who make less than $15 an hour. And going into minimum wage, it's an economic no-brainer that $15 is not a living wage. And from my own experience, trying to grow into a man, being a teenager, just taking care of basic necessities like moving out, transportation, food, and other responsibilities. It's hard to manage the basics without that economic security of $15 and just not having any kids or any other dependents that I need to take care of. $15 is really the least that we can ask for. And making $725 is like a slap in the face when Georgia has $175 million cash reserve, while 872 city workers earn less than $15 an hour. And even though I'm not a city worker, $15 will mean to me as it would mean to any other city worker. I don't have to struggle as much. I don't have to be late on every other bill. And if you have kids, you got to make sure you got to prioritize them too. They also matter. That's a whole nother human being that you have to take care of. In closing, and all that matters because making $15 on my job is directly connected to what I can do as far as the issue of poverty in my household and all over Georgia. And I'm committed to making sure that every voter knows what action is being taken place towards this issue. And every time I'm knocking doors, making phone calls, I want everybody to know that how this issue is being prioritized. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Riaz?
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Keisha Ferguson. I'm a mother of 3 with 1 child in college. I have lived in Georgia for 9 years, and I am a recent transplant to the Atlanta metro area. I also represent Jobs with Justice. I'm here today to speak about economic security. Economic security is the condition of having stable income to support a standard of living now and in the foreseeable future. Over 100 years ago, on the day historically known as International Workers' Day, workers fought to gain an 8-hour workday. They did this for themselves then and for the foreseeable future. Their work and sacrifice has effectively been overturned as families are forced to work multiple jobs to have a decent standard of living. There are once again 10, 12, and 16-hour workdays for families. It is as if International Workers' Day never existed. Today we want to take a small step in the hopes that we might continue to move forward in the future by lifting these 872 city workers out of poverty. Mayor Kasim has the power and the funds to achieve this. On April 7th, the City of Atlanta announced a $175 million rainy day reserve. The City of Atlanta's HR department also determined that it would take a maximum of $8 million to raise these 872 city workers to a $15 minimum wage, and that includes considerations for compression. Atlanta has always been known for its forward thinking. Let us lead the way once again and provide a livable wage for these 872 city workers. Also, I want to say that I'm a community outreach warrior, and I will be letting all these people in the city of Atlanta know what has been decided on this action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Shannon Reeves, Executive Director for Atlanta Jobs with Justice. I'm very excited for the city to take this action. You've heard from a couple of our leaders. We're working with 1644 to make sure what they present to you as the union's budget also reflects that we are looking for $15 an hour. City workers, I noticed that outside of us, it was only city workers that were in the room today. 1/3 of your workforce population is under $15 an hour. I would say that wasn't the workers that were here today, but I want you all to know that you have a lot of colleagues that absolutely need to be raised to at least $15. When we raise to $15 for all city workers, we will see a raise in pay for everyone. So on May 1st, we will be coming back to the city council to make sure that we show that the efficacy of the community, we're ready to see Atlanta lead on wages. We were successful in working with Fulton County. I just have to say it because we're in this time. I'm so thankful I got to work with Joan Garner on 15. That I watched this woman's political career for years and years and years. And the one time that I went to her and said, I'm ready for change, she stood with us and we won. And I want to win with all of you in the exact same way on this issue. I know the budget's coming. $175 million rainy day fund. We can't leave our workers in the hurricane. I live in District 1. This is my city. I want to make sure that my city doesn't have a single worker making a poverty wage. That's why we do this fight. If we're serious about reducing inequality in Atlanta, if we're serious about reducing poverty, we're going to start with the 872 workers that are under 15. We were one of the first cities to make a commitment to living wages. If we're going to get back to that commitment, we've got to start with this 15 right now. 15 in 2019 is beautiful, but I'd love to see us be at a living wage come 2019. Let us be bold and be 15 in 2017 and a living wage by 2019. You will continue to hear from Atlanta Jobs with Justice through the budgetary process. On May 1st, International Workers' Day, you will hear from workers from across the city workers and workers in the private sector, just telling you what economic security really means for us at the lower wage bracket. What is it going to take for us to move more people out of poverty and into the middle class and reduce inequality in this city? And it starts with you all's decision on this 872. We look forward to working with each and every one of you to make sure we find the money in the budget, that no city worker makes a poverty wage, and that we're moving all city workers back to a true living wage, which, just for clarity, is about $28 for a mother of two. That's where we've got to get to. Thank you.
Mr. Sheck, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, thank you, and I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name, Ms. Reed.
Oh, okay.
So the woman before you put a price tag on this of $8 million. Do y'all have an analysis of that, including the compression conversation as well?
So that actually came out of the study that came from the proposal, and all of you all got this today.
Okay.
But that is fine.
Okay.
Of what she presented, and that study just says it's about 6.5. We took it up to 8 to make sure that we can deal with real full compression, that everyone across the board in the city is able to get the raise.
So that was just a factor that you used. It wasn't a kind of a specific analysis.
No, it's specific. You have
the $2 million you added to address compression.
Right, just to make sure that Yancey's report comes in at 6.2 million. There's not enough details in that slide. I need to see the fuller report, but from what we experienced in Fulton County, what we saw in Fairburn, what we've been looking at in East Point, for us to just make sure we do across the board raises, that's about how much we need.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for our visitors? Thank you for your stamina.
Please be patient with us on the first. We really are telling workers for the very first time, as you just saw with Edward, very first time coming to civically engage and participate. It will be another long public comments hearing. We just want to make sure that International Workers' Day, the public record, really does reflect the voice of working people. We're encouraging all candidates, bring out your working people's base, your vision for economic security. Let's make sure that the public record notates it.
I think, yep, hang on, Ms. Archibald.
So when you say the goal is to get to a full living wage by 20 what?
2019 would be great. The sooner the better. But
Well,
we're going on a phase in. Yeah.
So is that something that's happening across the country where it's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3?
People have been phasing in the 15s. I think that's part of the reason that Commissioner Martin's paper is a phase in 13 now, 14, then 15. We've been seeing California is going to do a private and public sector phase in of 15 by 2020. But again, that's public and private sector. And we can explore that too. We're aware of state preemption. We think it's unconstitutional. We're excited to fight with you all on that as well.
All right, so...
With you, not for it, against you.
No,
For clarity.
well, I get you. And so if we did the phase in, and you know, on the first, we would not be ready because we're doing this as a budgetary matter. So as you
Yes, ma'am.
look at the advocacy, and I want to commend you and everybody who's spoken, you've been quite eloquent on this issue, and educating elected officials is really, really an important
Thank you.
part. We know a lot, we don't know everything, right? But I hope that there's a recognition that on the first, we'll still be deliberating. And
Yes,
there
ma'am.
won't be an up or down vote at that point.
Yes, ma'am. We know.
All right.
We'll see you all budget cycle long.
All right,
All right.
thanks.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Ms. Moore.
Mr. Shook, I would, considering the comments that I just heard from colleagues,